We have contracts and we can break the contracts.
Been a huge marijuana Ponzi scheme. Probably the biggest one they've ever found.
It was the biggest cannabis investment opportunity the world had ever seen. Or so they thought. Investors were promised life-changing wealth. Some even sold their homes to buy into the dream. The company boasted global partnerships, million-dollar greenhouses, and a revolutionary online platform that made growing cannabis as easy as clicking a button. But behind the scenes, a dangerous illusion was unfolding. What started as a golden ticket to financial freedom ended in one of the most elaborate financial scams of the decade. A billion-dollar Ponzi scheme, international fugitives, and a criminal network spanning Russia, Germany, and South Africa. This is the rise and fall of Juicy Fields. Juicy Fields positioned itself as the ultimate disruptor in the booming legal cannabis industry. A revolutionary investment model that promised wealth with just a few clicks. The concept was enticingly simple. Anyone, anywhere, could become a cannabis investor without owning land, dealing with licenses, or managing cultivation. Juicy Fields claimed to handle everything: planting, growing, harvesting, and selling the product, while investors sat back and watched their money grow. The returns? Almost too good to be true. Juicy Fields promised up to 66% profits in just 90 days, a rate unheard in any legitimate cannabis operation. The platform's sleek, professional interface showed real-time updates, as if investors were monitoring their plants in lush greenhouses across the world. At first, it worked flawlessly. Deposits turned into payouts, and those who reinvested saw their profits multiply. The word spread like wildfire. Juicy Fields wasn't just a business, it became a movement. The company marketed itself as a champion for the people, standing up to corporate monopolies and giving everyday investors a chance to cash in on the cannabis boom. Money flooded in, social media was flooded with success stories showing people turning small investments into life-changing amounts. Influencers, YouTubers, and online financial gurus pushed the platform, claiming it was the easiest passive income opportunity they'd ever seen. Juicy Fields went on to be big, sponsoring cannabis expos, hosting extravagant parties, and featuring Lamborghinis, celebrities, and luxury giveaways in its marketing. It had all the markings of a tech startup on the rise, with a charismatic CEO, international expansion, and a future that seemed limitless. It was a dream that millions bought into. But behind the scenes, a nightmare was unfolding.
And then we decided, me and my team, I have a team of about 25 investigators and researchers.
As Juicy Fields continued to attract thousands of new investors and money flowed in at an unprecedented rate, something wasn't adding up. The platform operated like a well-oiled machine, profits were paid out on time, glowing testimonials filled social media, and more people were buying into the dream. But behind the scenes, regulators were beginning to ask questions. German financial authorities took the first hard look at Juicy Fields. What they found was deeply concerning. The company claimed to be a legitimate investment platform, yet it lacked the proper licenses to handle financial transactions. In simple terms, Juicy Fields was illegally collecting millions from the public, operating in a gray area where no real oversight existed. As investigators dug deeper, the cracks in Juicy Fields' carefully crafted image started to crumble. The company, which claimed to be revolutionizing cannabis investing, wasn't even registered as an agricultural business. It held no permits to operate as an investment firm. There were no records proving that investors' money was actually being used to grow and sell cannabis on a large scale. Then came the most damning revelation. The supposed partnerships with major cannabis producer, the ones Juicy Fields flaunted on its website and in its promotional materials. Many of those companies had never even heard of them. The greenhouses? The high-tech cannabis farms? Well, they never existed. Yet the illusion was so convincing that over 500,000 investors worldwide fell for it. In Spain alone, tens of thousands were affected, some losing their entire savings. Groups of friends and families pooled their money together, convinced that they were building wealth only to watch everything disappear overnight. At its core, Juicy Fields wasn't a groundbreaking investment model. It was a classic Ponzi scheme, dressed up in modern branding. The platform wasn't generating profits from cannabis sales. Instead, it was recycling new investor money to pay off older ones, creating the illusion of a thriving business. As long as more people kept investing, withdrawals seemed effortless. But the system deepened entirely on constant cash flow, and the moment that slowed, everything would collapse. But Juicy Field, it wasn't just another get-rich scheme. It was one of the most elaborate financial illusions ever built. The company orchestrated every detail, from its aggressive marketing to its high-profile sponsorships and lavish events, all designed to distract from the truth. The deception was so masterfully executed that even seasoned investors failed to recognize the warning signs. By the time regulators stepped in and issued warnings, it was already too late. The scam had already grown so massive, so deeply entrenched, that stopping it was like trying to catch smoke. And when the collapse came, it would take €1 billion down with it. Then without warning, everything stopped. For months, investors worldwide had watched their virtual cannabis farms flourish, their accounts showing steady profits and prompted payouts. But in July 2022, the unthinkable happened. Investors logged in as usual, only to be met with error messages. The once polished website had gone dark. Customer support, which had always responded promptly, was now completely silent. Panic spread rapidly. Social media pages vanished overnight. The Juicy Fields Telegram group, once buzzing with activity, were deleted without a trace. Emails to support bounced back unanswered. Investors frantically tried to withdraw their money, but their transactions never got processed. Across the world, investors were coming to the same terrifying realization that their money was gone. In Spain alone, thousands of people had pooled their savings with friends and family, certain that they were building a future together. Some had taken out loans, confident that they would repay them with their Juicy Fields profits. Others had even quit their jobs, believing that they had a secured lifetime of passive income. But now there was nothing. No money, no answers, no way out. By the time the truth became undeniable, it was far too late. Nearly €1 billion had vanished into thin air, leaving behind nothing but shattered dreams and financial devastation. But as the dust settled, one question loomed above all. Where did the money all go? Juicy Fields had built its empire on a carefully constructed illusion, one so elaborate that it fooled 500,000 investors worldwide. The lush greenhouses showcased in promotional videos, the thriving cannabis farms that investors thought that they owned, the behind-the-scenes footage of workers tending to crops, it was all part of an orchestrated deception. The farms themselves did exist, but they had no connection to Juicy Fields. Instead, they were unrelated agricultural operations in Portugal and Colombia, cleverly repurposed for marketing materials. Investors watched their virtual cannabis plants grow on the platform, had no idea that their supposed greenhouses were just borrowed scenery, elected to create an illusion of booming, legitimate business. The deception didn't stop there. Juicy Fields' public face CEO Alan Glantz was presented as a visionary entrepreneur, a bold leader disrupting the cannabis industry with innovation and strategy. Investors saw him as a self-made genius, an executive with an inside knowledge of the booming cannabis market. But in reality, he wasn't a business mogul at all. Alan Glantz had no background in finance, no experience in the cannabis trade, and no history of running a successful company. In fact, before Juicy Fields, he had been nothing more than a taxi driver in Russia. Given a new identity, a flashy wardrobe, and a well-rehearsed script, he was transformed into the perfect frontman, a character designed to project confidence and legitimacy, while the true masterminds remain hidden in the shadows. But Juicy Fields was never just a Ponzi scheme. It was something far more sinister. Beneath the illusion of a revolutionary investment platform, Juicy Fields was actually a billion-dollar international money laundering operation. The platform didn't just steal money from investors. It served as a pipeline for cleaning dirty money from criminal organizations. Illicit funds flowed in, disguised as cannabis investments, and came out clean on the other side. But behind it all was a highly organized network, one with deep political connections, tied to Russian oligarchs and suspected links to organized crime. The masterminds operated far beyond the reach of financial regulators, using fake passports, offshore accounts, and layers of shell companies to obscure their tracks. Juicy Fields wasn't just a fraud, it was a gateway into something much bigger. By the time authorities realized what was really happening, the true orchestrators of the scheme were already steps ahead, vanishing into shadows with a fortune.
What I need to say, just only one, that was shocked that it's happened, and my feel is very bad. You know what? I'm not afraid anything because I'm innocent. Okay, if the people decided what to do, they do.
Like I'm calling them useful idiots. These are people who are just being paid to be seen and signing papers and so on. They are.
2024, after 2 years of mounting evidence and desperate pleas from defrauded investors, law enforcement agencies across Europe were finally ready to act. In a coordinated international crackdown, over 400 officers stormed 38 locations across multiple countries. Offices were raided, documents seized, and key figures taken into custody. Among those arrested were several high-ranking members of Juicy Fields' European operations, individuals who had played crucial roles in orchestrating the scam. But while the arrest made headlines, they only scratched the surface of the true criminal network. The masterminds behind Juicy Fields, the ones who had designed the entire operation, moved the money, and orchestrated its collapse, were nowhere to be found. They had disappeared, slipping through the cracks of international law enforcement just as the walls were closing in. Authorities were left with more questions than answers. Where were they hiding? Who was protecting them? And most importantly, where was the missing billion euros? Many experts believe that the true architects of Juicy Fields operated far beyond the reach of European law enforcement, protected by a web of political influence and organized crime. With over €1 billion still missing and key figures vanishing without a trace, one thing was undeniable. It wasn't just a scam, it was a global conspiracy, meticulously designed to disappear the moment the walls closed in. And the real masterminds? They were still out there watching.
They have the great climate, they have the agricultural knowledge, and they have the perfect lands and climate and environment to make the perfect cannabis.
Been a huge marijuana Ponzi scheme, probably the biggest one they've ever found, where nine people have suckered people from over 35 countries into dumping their money into the biggest scheme that the marijuana industry's seen so far.
Juicy Fields wasn't just another scam, it was one of the most sophisticated financial frauds of the decade. A billion-dollar empire built on deception, meticulously crafted to lure in investors, manipulate trust, and vanish without a trace. It exposed the dark underbelly of modern financial fraud, where technology, social media, and psychological manipulation combined to create illusions so convincing that even seasoned professionals fail to see the cracks until it's too late. But the scariest part? Juicy Fields was not an anomaly. It was a blueprint. Every year, new scams emerge, bigger, bolder, and more convincing than the last. They adapt, evolving to exploit our greatest desires: financial freedom, passive income, and a shortcut to wealth. And just like Juicy Fields, they will come with celebrity endorsements, flashy marketing, and promises that seem too good to ignore. The next one, it could already be out there, waiting for its next victims. Stay informed, stay vigilant, don't be their next target.
Juicy Fields ringleaders finally face trial 2 years after collapse. Leaders of the now notorious cannabis investment scam Juicy Fields are finally being brought to justice 2 years after the company collapsed and hundreds of millions of euros of investors' money were lost. This week, it was revealed that 2 German citizens thought to be at the very top of what is suspected to be a Russian state-sanctioned scam will see charges brought against them by the Berlin Public Prosecutor's Office. This follows a long and complex investigation by both international police services, including Europol and Eurojust, as well as an in-depth deep dive into the company by a team of journalists. While prosecutions are continuing across multiple countries, the vast majority of the 645 million euros invested into the scheme remains lost.
Have you ever been caught in a financial scam? Share your story in the comments below. Your experience could help warn others. And if you want in-depth investigations into the world's biggest financial scandals, make sure to subscribe, because in a world full of deception, knowledge is your best defense. If you thought Juicy Fields was shocking, wait until you see how Mark Zuckerberg waged war on Snapchat. A ruthless tech battle, billion-dollar power moves, and a strategy that almost wiped out an entire platform. Click to watch now, because in Silicon Valley, survival is a game of war.